Oop and her husband had been together since she was 19 and he was 22. Married for 6 years now with 2 kids, third baby on the way. She found out her dad has cancer. Her mother has passed away when she was 12. Oop's husband has been very supportive from day one and suggested her to step away from her job for a while to take care of her family. Oop has her best friend who she knew since they were babies. Both families grew up together. After going to wake her husband up, she discovered her friend's text messages to him from his phone. Realizing it has been going on for 4 months when Oop's husband and her best friend have been lying to her. She tries to figure out what to do next that she knew now about the affair. Update 1. Oop spent a good amount of time gathering and documenting everything she has on her husband and her best friend. Used her dad's hospice care plan as a front cover so her husband doesn't know she knew about his infidelity. She is thinking about going back to work, but working with a lawyer first to get things in order should she move forward with the next steps of her life. Per her lawyer, Oop doesn't have to worry about her inheritance from her parents, which her husband cannot touch it at all. While her husband was at work, Oop revealed what took place between her husband and best friend to their mothers, who are now upset on the whole incident. Met with the lawyer, Oop gets her finances, logistics, and everything in order to make sure she is in a good position to go after her husband and best friend. Update 2. Oop names the characters in the posts. Mill and Phil. Ruth and Joe, ex-BFF's parents. Angie and Bob, ex-BFF. Jess, STBX. Tyler, ex-BFF's brother. Jake, Oop's dad. Oop provides a quick summary on how things went so quickly in the last couple posts. She was able to meet with her OB/GYN on the same day to get checked, all clear. Several more tests were done and waiting for the results to arrive. Oop met with her lawyer to go over everything, including her husband's financial records, which she got a hold of to make sure her bases are covered. If everything goes well with what she got, Oop should not have any problems with getting the divorce papers within a month. Ruth and Angie, Mill and ex-BFF's mothers, told Oop what happened after both sets of parents confronted Tyler, ex, and Jess, ex-BFF. All 4 parents are very upset with both Tyler and Jess for the affair, and they have been cut off from their families. Tyler discovers Oop has moved her stuff and their children's stuff to her dad's to get away. Damaged the house and went to look for Oop. She left for her dad's cabin with her kids, now away and safe. Tyler is arrested after trying to break in Oop's dad's house, not cabin. Oop had to get her own therapy session and will set up therapy sessions for her children. Per her lawyer, Oop is collecting text messages from Jess, who told her to fix everything, especially her parents cutting her off. Blamed Oop for stealing Tyler from her. Tyler wanted to reconcile, but Oop isn't giving in. He doesn't know about the divorce papers yet until he would be served. Oop suspected Tyler and Jess won't be staying together since their parents have confronted them. Jess' brother, Jake, is on leave from the military. He steps in to help Oop and her family per Angie and Bob. Oop thanks Redditors for continuing support as she deals with the whole situation on Tyler and Jess. Update 3. Tyler finds Oop's post and asked if she is serving him the divorce papers. Oop said yes. He begs for forgiveness on his behaviors toward her. Oop has regular meetings with her lawyer to make sure she has everything as needed. Jake is doing great, being a great support system for Oop and her children. Oop's dad is not doing well, now in the hospital for a while. Kids are adjusting well along with therapy already set up to cope with unexpected events in their lives after moving away from Tyler. Still pregnant for a couple more months. Update 4. Oop's dad has died. Her marriage ended in dissolution after Tyler was served with the papers. Per her lawyer, the dissolution process was quick and smoothly after Tyler gave Oop everything she asked for in the divorce papers. Oop has full custody of the kids with visitations for Tyler. Therapy is going on for Oop and her kids. Still pregnant, but the baby is doing well. Oop's ex-Mill, Ruth, and ex-BFF's mom, Angie, are helping her with the kids. All three women are on great terms with each other. Jake has gone back to his active duties but will be back to help Oop and her children. Their friendship is great and might be moving on to the next step, but Jake and Oop are taking things slowly. Tyler and Jess are no longer together. He has left Jess, who has been blacklisted from her family after the blow-up. Update 5. Oop is back with a small update. Her baby boy has been born slightly prematurely, but he didn't have to do a NICU stay. Angie, ex-BFF's mom, was present at the birth while Ruth, Mill, stayed with the older children. Both Ruth and Angie took turns staying with Oop for several weeks to assist with the baby and his siblings. Oop is very glad to have support from both mothers. Sad the baby doesn't get a chance to know his grandpa, Oop's dad, who has passed on few weeks before. Jake is in process of moving back home after receiving some news on a change in his military career. He has been offered an early retirement which was not his fault at his base. Oop stated Jake is looking for a place, but might stay with her and her children temporarily until he has a place to live in. Tyler, ex, was upset because he wasn't allowed in the room when Oop gave birth. Oop will give more updates on her ex when things calm down. Update 6. Oop answers prior questions regarding Tyler before giving the latest update. Mill is no contact while Phil is low contact with Tyler when he has the supervised visits with the kids. He has cheated on Oop with another girl besides Jess. Oop is not worried about Jess having a sibling relationship with Jake, brother, because they didn't have a great relationship growing up. Jake had been low contact with Jess prior to the blow-up and has remained the same since then. Oop's oldest child understands the situation with Tyler. Both kids are in therapy per Oop in order to have healthy coping methods with their dad being out. Oop doesn't want to accept any donations from strangers to help out. She has her inheritance from her dad who has passed on. Oop gave a great update on her baby boy who has been reaching all milestones despite the fact being born slightly prematurely. Her oldest children are in love with their baby brother. Angie and Bob, Jess' parents, have been called grandparents, being there for Oop and her children. Tyler wasn't at the birth but has blown up at Oop for not letting him see his child. Per Oop's requests at the hospital where she works at as an RN, Tyler was escorted off the property for Oop's own safety. Since then Tyler hasn't paid any visits to see his children. Turned out he has gotten a new girlfriend and now wasn't interested in seeing his kids after Phil paid a visit to check in with Tyler. Oop has been keeping in touch with Jake who has been very thoughtful of Oop. Had some food delivered to Oop and catching up. Jake also checked in with Oop's children to make sure they are well. Respected Oop's boundaries. He will be coming home in the next few months to take care of personal business including house hunting. Oop is looking forward to having Jake's visits. What about Oop herself? Therapy has been helpful since she started. Sad about her father's passing. Shared how her relationship with her dad was great. Glad to have Angie and Ruth in her corner along with a large support system. Oop is sad for her children because they don't have their dad in their lives now after Tyler has bailed out on them once he had a new girlfriend. Oop is preparing to head back to work and find a new normal for herself and her children. Ready for a new chapter to start. Update 7. Oop shared a short update. She received a surprise for Christmas which Jake has came home to visit her and her children. The older children has stated Santa has brought Uncle Jake home. Update 8. Oop shared some news since the last few updates. Tyler hasn't seen the kids since he started dating his girlfriend. Stopped talked with Phil who was the middleman for Oop and Tyler for their children's visits. Oop has offered alternative ways of communications for their children's sakes. Tyler turned them down because he chose his girlfriend over his children who haven't seen for a while. Oop has figured she was going to be a single mom after Tyler bailed out. Ruth and Angie have provided childcare while Oop adjusts to her work schedule. Very glad to come home to happy children, a clean home, and dinner on the stove. Briefly, Oop was asked if she's religious. She has stated she's not judging people and has encouraged people to be themselves for who they are. Oop shared that she's dating Jake currently, stating the air quotes because Jake and Oop are taking things slowly. Oop received her first kiss, went out on several dates here and there, but also included kids for movie nights at home. Things are going well for both. Jake and Oop might enter the boyfriend and girlfriend phase. Jake has been very supportive, helping Oop with her kids including the baby boy. Jake has been very respectful of Oop's boundaries, which makes Oop so glad she has someone who understands her. Oop shared she wanted to wait and receive Jake's stamp of approval on what she shares with the Reddit community. Update 9. It has been almost a year since Oop first discovered her ex-husband's affair. Oop shared a quick update on some Redditors who saw Jake's comment on Oop's Reddit account being locked out. Turned out it was Jess who changed the password. Oop explained from the beginning on how she found Jess walking into her house while Jake was outside in the backyard with the kids. Jess has tried to make threats against Oop while in the kitchen. Jake managed to get inside after hearing Oop's screams. He got Jess out of the house before the police were called. Jess made up a story to the police and accused Oop for threatening her. It backfired at Jess as Oop had cameras everywhere and showed the police the evidence. Jess was escorted off the property. That was when Jess hacked into Oop's social media accounts including Reddit, but Oop managed to stop Jess from accessing Reddit. Jess later spammed Oop's job, resulting into a week's suspension. Oop was cleared after the evidence showed Oop was telling the truth and Jess was falsifying everything. What led Oop to get a restraining order against Jess was when she tried to pick up Oop's oldest from school without anyone knowing about. The school was well aware after meeting with Oop regarding Tyler being violent in front of the kids prior. They escorted Jess off the school campus and kept Oop's oldest safe until Oop came for the pickup. Oop has an emergency order in place, but will be at the court to request for a permanent one within the next month or so. Locks were changed immediately after the incident with Jess and the police. Angie and Bob are very angry with their daughter for what happened. There is no update on Tyler. Oop shares that she hasn't heard from him since he last bailed out on the visitations with their children. Oop realized her oldest has wanted Jake to be the dad instead of Tyler. She knew the kids were moving forward and accepting the fact of Tyler not being in their lives anymore. Oop learns from Ruth and Joe, Tyler's parents, that Tyler has remarried and is expecting a baby with his new wife. Ruth told Oop she and Phil got invitations from Tyler and his wife. That is how Oop learned about Tyler. Oop's 2 children are still in therapy and was informed her oldest is ready to call Jake dad instead of Tyler. Her middle child seems to move on and forgetting who Tyler was since both children have been bonding well with Jake. Now on to Jake. Oop realized she has been feeling so much happier now when Jake has been around and creating a healthy relationship. It is a blessing for Oop to have Jake there because he checks in regularly when he is at work or anywhere away from Oop and her kids. It showed Oop Jake cares about her and her family. Jake told Oop she is his girlfriend practically the whole time. Update 10. Oop is back with a new update. This time, it's on the restraining order she has against Jess. Oop wasn't approved for a permanent one, but did receive a 7-year restraining order. Where she is located, it appears to be very difficult to obtain a permanent restraining order without any additional and hard evidence that could result in a life or death situation. If Jess resumes her harassing onto Oop after 7 years or up, Oop can take her back to the courts for another restraining order. Oop requests no more questions regarding Jess as she is ready to move on after she has the restraining order in place. Oop made an additional comment to confirm her children are also included in the restraining order against Jess, so all good. Per Oop, Jake is doing great, has moved in with Oop and her children. They are all thrilled with the next step. Oop again stated the fact she has known Jake all her life, so she's not worried. There's nothing new with Tyler since he has made no contacts with his children. The children are doing well. New update part 1 of 2 updates. If you are triggered by mentions of death and drug use, you should probably skip this update. I will be making an entirely different post for the life updates so you won't miss anything. Please take care of your mental health first. Hey guys, I have some news. I am not entirely sure on how to say it, so I am just going to say it. Jess was found deceased in her apartment from a drug overdose at the end of July. To say it was a shock would be an understatement of the century. Jess was the kind of girl who never touched a drug in her life. Even back in the day when I would partake in smoking weed from time to time, she would pick a fight with me about it. A part of me is devastated. She was my best friend and we went through so much together, we had so much history. She wrote me a letter. I am not going to go into every single detail about it, but I will highlight one main part of it. She told me she saw I was trapped in an unhappy, loveless marriage and she wanted to help me get out of it. She didn't know what to do. So one night when she started doing drugs, she decided to get rid of Tyler. The only way she knew how was by sleeping with him. From there things spiraled and she fell in love with him, and became jealous because he would fill her head with pretty white lies and then go home to me. While I don't forgive her for what she did to me, I get it. I do. Jake has been blaming himself of sorts. Yes, he was pissed at her, but he didn't want her dead, none of us did. He's been having a hard time with things, but in true Jake fashion, he's been shoving his grief to the side to be there for everyone else. He stayed with his parents the first month after everything happened to take care of them, and then would come check on me at least twice a day. He still won't really talk about it, so I try to be there for him in every way possible without the use of words. Angie isn't doing well. She lost a child, and even though she cut her off, that's still her daughter and she still loves her. I've been stopping by their house once a day to check on her and bring her meals to ensure everyone is eating. Jake's dad. Well, he's been handling it much better than I thought. Jess was always closer to him, but he told me maybe I am a heartless bastard, but once I saw the woman she was becoming, I stopped thinking of her as my daughter. I already grieved the loss of my daughter a long time ago. So there's that. Just to put it out there, nobody is blaming me. They made the choice to cut Jess out of their life of their own free will, and I made it clear to them when all of this first came out that I wouldn't blame them if they wanted to keep their relationship with their daughter, sister. Angie even made it a point to tell me it's not my fault, and we hugged and cried together. We're not sure if she did it on purpose or if she had letters for everyone as a backup in case she happened to overdose, but the letters weren't out in the open by her body. They were tucked away in a drawer. To end this update, I just want to make it clear that though I had a lot of hate in my heart for Jess, but there was also a lot of love there too. She hurt me and betrayed me, but had she not done that, I would still be stuck married to a man I felt indifference towards, and would not be as happy as I am. She did it in a fucked up way, but in a sense she did free me from my shackles. I will always love her, and this loss is one that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Relevant comments on how Jess' parents and brother, Angie and Bob, and Jake are taking the news of her death. Angie and her husband are in grief counseling, but it's not something Jake is interested in. I did try to push him on it, but he said he'd rather deal with the loss in his own way. I've been respecting that choice, but I do bring it up to him from time to time to ensure no one will think any less of him if he needs help processing. I did manage to get him to attend one of my therapy sessions with me about the grief, and he did get some things off his chest. but had rather handle his grief quietly, so I haven't been too overbearing about it. What has Oop know so far about Jess getting into drugs? Oop. Personally, I don't think Jess started doing drugs until after the affair was discovered. I think that's what triggered her into finding this new escape. I'd like to believe I would have noticed something that big, but I was also wrapped in grief over losing my only remaining parent that maybe I did miss some signs. I know without a doubt I would have noticed if she was high around me though, so if it was pre-discovery she didn't do them around me or hang out with me if she was high. Oop on if Tyler has known what happened or not. Oop. If Tyler knows, he didn't say anything to me about it. I also didn't reach out to him and freely offer the information. I really hate to say this, but her obsession with Tyler ran much deeper than I initially realized. I thought it was just a fling, but after going through her apartment and helping Angie and Jake clear it out, I realized that what she felt for him was really walking the line of obsession. There's a part of me that feels like this was her cry to him, to see if he would run back to her and rescue her from herself. Oop's thoughts on if Jess had always wanted what Oop had. Being jealous of Oop and her life. Oop. I think you're pretty close, and this is me making an educational guess because only Jess truly knows, but I like to think I know her well enough to answer this. Had Jess and I fallen out any other way, her parents wouldn't have cut me off unless I did to her what she did to me. They would have distanced from me and helped Jess through it. This is the first time they made this decision. We've had our fair share of arguments and her parents would take her side, even if she was wrong. Jess was very close to her dad, and while he was like a dad to me as well, we didn't really have that father-daughter bond. Angie always looked after me because my mom was her best friend, and she did mother-daughter things with me since I lost mine so young. But she did more with her own daughter than me, which I never felt ill will towards. Jess and Angie were also close, and Angie always made sure Jess never felt unloved or left out. And Jess even made comments over the years that she was glad that her mom stepped in for me, but never overstepped. They had countless talks about it to the point Jess would come to me and joke about it, saying mom's having one of her moments where she wants to make sure I am not jealous or upset. That she did this and this with you lol. Her and Jake were never close growing up. More so because all of Jess' friends used her to get closer to Jake, though I am the first friend of Jess that Jake actually made a move on. He would ignore the friends and Jess would blame him for it. I am going to try to word this as gently as possible without trying to sound like a complete asshole. Jess was always boy crazy, the girl who was constantly vying for Amon's attention. While I don't think there's anything wrong with that, there is something wrong in how Jess went about it. She saw men as a way to prove her worth. However, teenage boys and even men can be pretty shallow, and the men Jess typically went after were pretty shallow. Jess was always bigger. I wouldn't say she was full out fat, but she had a belly and hips, and I didn't stay over 100 pounds until I had my first child, and even then I was still skinny. So of course, these shallow-ass men, when they saw her and I together, they would divert their attention to me instead of her. I of course always ignored them, but I think that had set a deep-rooted insecurity in her, that she was always second best to me when it came to men. I never saw it that way, and I never went after the men she liked. I married Tyler, and shortly after I married Tyler, Jess got married to the guy I had a crush on in high school. I truthfully didn't care because it was an innocent crush and I never acted on it. But the guy was an ass, and in his wedding speech made a comment about how he got second best to what he really wanted, and everyone hated the guy. All of us begged her to not marry him once he showed his true colors long before that wedding speech. But she saw it as me being jealous, and we actually stopped talking for a while because of it. So I think getting my husband to sleep with her was her way of proving she wasn't second best. Only when my husband didn't pursue a relationship with her like she hoped, she became obsessed with the idea of him and trying to prove she was the better lover. I don't know what the end goal was truthfully, but I just hope she's at peace now. Part 2 of 2 updates. September 10, 2024, same day, 1 hour later. Hey guys, I know the last post was heavy, so if you need someone to talk to, please feel free to reach out. I understand stuff like that leaves its mark. Here's to a more cheerful update. Tyler is still Mia from the kid's life. Still hasn't reached out, and I am not chasing after him to be involved with the kids. They deserve more from their dad. The kids are doing just wonderful. They've really taken to Jake, even the baby calls him Dada, and once he and I had a long talk about it, I've decided that if the kids want to call him Dad, I won't intervene. My oldest made the transition from Uncle Jake to Dad. My middle child still calls him Uncle Jake, but that's completely fine with me. How they want to pursue that relationship, I will let them. Jake actually started coaching their indoor soccer league and they love having him there. The house just has this sense of peace now, and all of them are just so happy that it makes my heart so full. I did have a conversation with them about Aunt Jess being in heaven with Papa, and they took it well. Probably because they've hardly seen her in the last year. Tyler's parents have still been just as involved and are actually really close to Jake's parents. They've all been so wonderful that sometimes I feel like I am dreaming. Angie and, I think the fake name I assigned Angie's husband was Bob. Please bear with me if I am wrong. Bob have retreated a little from the kids' life to deal with their grief. Which I completely understand. They do still see the kids at least once a week, and Angie mentioned it helps her, spending time with them. Roughly 2 weeks after Jess passed away, Jake asked me to marry him. I told him I wasn't saying no. But I wanted him to sit with this a little longer and make sure this was something he actually wanted and he wasn't making a hasty decision in the midst of grief. A month later, after the dust had started to settle and things were slowly falling back into our routines, he asked me again. He had this whole speech about how he's wanted this for as long as he could remember, and even mentioned how when we were kids he said he would marry me when we grew up. It's true, he did say that to me when I was like 5 lol, so I said yes. We are having a long engagement. I don't want to jump right back into a marriage, so we're taking our time and haven't even started wedding planning yet. Maybe come 2025 we'll start the plans. To be totally honest though, we've just been debating on an elopement, something small with just his parents and the kids. Who knows though, we have time to figure it out. Life has been a whirlwind full of ups and downs, but I am so lucky to have so many wonderful people who love me and my kids. As always, thank you for being here with me throughout this journey. I love you guys. Until next time. Relevant comments. Oop on how Angie and Bob are taking the news of her engagement. Oop. Angie is very thrilled. She's actually been doing some wedding planning, and I've been letting her do her own thing. I think it's helping keep her busy. When we told Angie and Bob, Angie actually started crying. She said that her and my mom used to joke about us growing up and getting married, and they were thrilled about the idea of them becoming actually related by marriage. Bob is happy because he knows Jake is a good man who would, in his words, take care of you and the kids. And if he did anything to hurt me, all I needed to do was call him and had put the fear of God in Jake lol.